Don't forget to check out the forum so you can see announcements and ask me questions. Also, save this website to your home screen before you watch this video for easier access. What's going on? I appreciate you being in the academy. This is another video of, international basketball. This time I did 18 under. And I think the craziest thing was the play style from this versus Mount Verde and like the top high schools and all that other shit. So much different. So much different. Like these kids they try to play in a professional manner as far as execution, as far as habits. It's just crazy to watch, the difference between what they're doing in different countries versus what they're doing in our country. And so, I said our country as if some of you aren't international, as in the USA is in the country I live in. So it's just crazy to see that. And I think, this video, I made a really big emphasis on pointing out small habits that I think every player should start gaining and learning and executing, and also I want to apologize ahead of time. I could not talk today for some reason. Like I literally just could not speak well. So if I'm messing up words or I'm misspeaking or I have like really bad grammar, I don't know what it is. It's just one of those days. So I think, I just wanted to point that out. Also, I'm going to figure out a way to get all of you that are in this academy into a group and maybe do like weekly Zooms or something, or I could do live Q&A, or be able to break down your film individually if you want to send it in and you're okay with the entire group watching you guys play. That's something I'm trying to figure out. Maybe like Telegram. I know I can go live on there. I don't know. I'm gonna figure that out. Other than that, man, just make sure you check out the podcast. I got a podcast now. YouTube's coming soon, and that's pretty much all I got. I'll see you at the end. So in every possession, I'll give you a chance to figure out what the answer might be for, the things that happen. And then I'll always give my take on it after that. So I'll give you a chance to figure out. So like in this one, just think in your mind, okay, what should he have done differently? And like I'll try to rewind it a few times, but if you don't get it, you can always rewind yourself, obviously. And so in this one, what he should have done differently is number one, his dribble's too high and it's exposed, right? And so if you're getting pressured, you got to dribble below your knee. But secondly, it's his footwork on that crossover. So if you're getting pressured and you cross over to your lead hand or your lead foot, so his right foot's in front on the crossover, if you can see right here. I'm going to try to slow it down. Yeah, I can slow it down right here. If you can see, so his lead foot is here. If you're crossing over towards your lead foot, you have to bring it back. That's how you're going to end up protecting yourself. And so right here, he crosses over, but his foot does not move at the same time. And so that gives the defender a chance to lunge at it. But had he brought his foot back here, then automatically this side of his body, and he could use his left arm, would be protecting the ball, if that makes sense. And so see now the ball is exposed, but if his foot was back farther, then the ball would be back farther, just because his body positioning would be different. And so just know when you're doing, crossovers under pressure, and you're trying to protect the ball, you gotta make sure the ball is, or you are between the ball and the person that's trying to steal it, right? And so right there, if he brings that foot back, and it has to be at the same time. So if the ball's already in this hand and your foot hasn't moved, you've done it too slow. Like that's just rule of thumb. And while all that's happening, you got to stick your left arm out in order to protect yourself. And so, those things combined is just what made him turn it over. So on this possession, what would have helped him get that pass through? Like if you want to make that pass, what should be done differently right here and why? Like what do you have to understand in order to make this play happen? And so what I understand is, number one, you got to understand the psychology of a trap. Like when people are trapping you, they're more likely to jump. It's just, I don't understand what it is. It's just they want to trap you. They want to steal the ball. They're trying to speed you up and they're frantic, but they're also sped up because they realize that you're in a pressure situation where you got to do something. So if they feel like, okay, let me act fast, let me jump him, and anything he does, I'm going to jump and try to swat the ball and get a steal, because they know if they don't jump and get this steal, it's now, and this pass is complete, it's 4-on-3, right? It's got one right here, and then you got his teammates, and then it's the other three playing defense. And so they have to put as much pressure as they can on the ball handler in order to disrupt him so he can't get this pass off easy. and create a disadvantage for the defense, right? And so what he should have done is, for one, just understand like what's happening, right? Like right here, you can kind of see before you use the screen, the big's coming up, right? And so you could fake like you're going to use it and not go as far. Like I wouldn't say that. He didn't really use it, to be honest, but I would use a ball fake. That simple. Like fake high, they're going to jump up in the air, and then you can throw a little bounce pass. Or you can wait for them to come down, and then you throw it. So you can throw it when they're on the way down. Those are the two things that you could do. But also you could keep your dribble alive and just wait it out and see. And so right here, when the trap's coming, he could keep his dribble alive, back up a little bit, and then maybe try to get around one of the defenders on a side and then make the pass. And just, I think he would be able to extend his options, if he kept his dribble alive, if he's not going to use a pump fake on that pass. And so those are the two things that I would do differently in order to get that pass off in the pick and roll and create an advantage for your team. So now in this possession, just point out different things that you feel like would have made this execution a lot better. Because all that happened is they ended up in this one-on-one. But why didn't their initial actions work? Like, what was wrong with everything that happened? Like, I'll let you see it one more time. He comes down, pick and roll, swings it, they skip it into the post, and then isolation. So within all that, like, what do you think could have been done better? And so I'll point out what I think, right? So first thing is, when you get a pick and roll, that action has to be a threat, right? And if you've been watching the other videos, you know this theme, like everything has to be a threat. You can't do things frivolously. And so if you're going to get that pick and roll, you should attack it, right? Just use it. And then you can see if this guy's going to help. If he helps up, you can throw a little pocket pass. If he helps, then you can skip it over, whatever, right? But now on the skip, now from here, even though they didn't use it, what should have been done? Like what's wrong with this possession, like from this standpoint? Like what I would say is he didn't roll fast enough, for one, and he cut for no reason, right? And so if you're next to the ball, you shouldn't cut. Like there's no reason to cut when you're right next to the ball. So right here, especially if you're not being denied, the only reason you would cut and you're next to the ball is if they're in full denial and you're going for a backdoor. But never cut if you don't have an opportunity to get the ball. Like cutting is a action that is supposed to get you the ball, right? And so this dude just cuts for no reason. And what that does is it lets him guard two at once, right? And so now imagine in this situation, imagine right here, he stays out. This guy has a lot harder decision, right? And if he were to stay in here because he's worried about the roller, right, then you could just swing it and he has a wide open shot. And so that's why you don't want to do that when action's happening, especially if it's happening away from you. You don't want to just cut into it because now you're helping the defense out and he doesn't have to make a hard choice now. Because I think even though he rolled a little bit late, he would have had some leverage and he could have passed it, into some space because I think he just beat him by a step and it would have been there. And this guy would have had to stay out and deny this shooter right there. And so those are just things to understand, right? But then on the skip, like, what should he have done on that? So on this catch right here, what he does is he immediately goes to dribbling, right? And when you catch it, especially against a closeout, your first instinct has to be square up. Like, and so that's fundamentals, right? These are the things that I always talk about. Like, so when people ask me what fundamentals are, it's pretty much all I talk about. So just like if you watch enough of my videos, you'll kind of get an understanding of the themes that I point out and just understand why mastering them are so important, right? And so he should have just caught it. He should have been shot ready and at least give it a look. Even if you can't shoot, at least give it a look before you do anything else. Don't just dribble frivolously. Now you're doing moves and nothing's happening, right? And so in the one-on-one, and this was a pretty good one-on-one, I think it's just a lot of players, when they do moves one-on-one, they don't realize that, one move is fine most of the time. And so you got to be able to realize that your first move worked. And so if you don't take enough time to realize, okay, I got him on the shimmy, I can just go up right here, then you're going to do too many moves. Now you're stuck in this, and then you're just going to throw something up. And that happens more often in the post than it does on the wing. But just understand, it's like, okay, I'm going to try this move. Let's see. Okay, you should be able to read it. So while you're doing the move, your mindset of reading should still be alive to like, okay, let me read whether or not this actually worked. Oh, it worked. Now let me get my shot off. But now he went into a counter move, and your initial move should not be a counter move. Like the initial move is to get the defender off balance or out of the way. And then if that doesn't work, that's when the counter move happens. So he did a counter move not needing it. And so that's how, the philosophy of moves work. So here's another full possession. I'll kind of let you dissect and see, what worked and what didn't work. And so that's the full play right there. And so what I saw is first thing down, right? They ran this pick and roll again. And this would have been a perfect opportunity to swing it. Because the last time they swung it, this guy didn't hedge as hard as he is right now. And so if he catches it here, now he can still make that pass and they have that same spacing, right? But that didn't work, or that didn't happen simply because he cut through when the action was going towards him. And so now he was open, pretty much for no reason right there. But had there been a catch right here, you could just throw it over there and he would have got it, right? And so, but the thing that he did really well was he kept his dribble this time. So instead of picking it up and trying to pass it through, the next time they kept his dribble alive, and then that opened up different options, right? Even though they didn't get that initial roll, now he caught it, and they're going to throw it to the high post right here. All right, so now out of this, what he did right in order to get this, he set it up like he took his time, right? So as he catches it, he sets it up as if he might, catch it on that side, and then, takes a jab, and now he's out of position, and he goes for this handoff. But then the thing that he does that's really subtle when he catches the ball is he doesn't just sprint into it. Right now, I cannot talk right now. He doesn't just sprint into it, right? He catches it on a little hesitation. So watch, he floats into the pass. So float and go. Like you notice that? I'll slow it down so you can see it a little bit better. So sets it up with the jab, floats, and then he reads his situation and goes straight at the basket. And so that little float right there gives him time to assess whether or not he can use it. So like once he's in the air, he's like, okay, I got a clear lane. Now he can just explode through it. But let's say that guy would have recovered. Then within that float, he could still dribble to his right if he wanted to. So if you take your time on the handoff and float, then you'll be able to read the situation, and now you can take it. And so he got through one dribble, kept the ball high. And like these are just, again, the fundamentals I always talk about. Like when he goes through, he brings the ball up just in case this guy were to reach. Right? So he makes these things, habit based on positioning. So if there's a person going to dig, his habits are in place to where it doesn't matter if he digs or not. It's just now he's made that second nature for him to bring the ball up. Now he extends it. He got there in one dribble. It was perfect. So now in this possession, I think this one's super obvious, but I'm going to give a little bit of psychology and just a way to think about it. Because obviously the answer here is right. Like, okay, you shouldn't pick up your dribble for no reason, right? Especially in that fucking stance, in a ballerina stance. I don't know what I have no idea what the hell you're doing. But, the thing is, right, you got to understand that they've been hedging for the first 2 minutes of the game, right? We're not that far into the game, but you've done, 4 pick and rolls to know the big man is going to hedge. Like there's no question about it, right? And so now that that's happened, it's like he should know that going in, so he should be prepared. But then, once this action happens, you should stay low. So he should stay in this stance and keep his dribble alive, whether he's going to retreat this way or he could do a behind the back dribble and go back this way. Like, I don't know why I went up here. Go back this way to his left, right? But instead, he came off and he just picked the ball up. And if you are going to pick the ball up, you don't want to stand straight up. Like, if you're going to be like this, you got to get rid of the ball, right? You already lost your opportunity. But there should be no reason, for your feet to do this in any circumstance. And so you just got to have a solid fundamental base, no matter what you're doing. Even if you make the wrong decision, you got to have fundamentals within that decision. So if you decide to pick your ball up on a hedge under pressure, okay, it's like, how do I pick the ball up? Like, you should stay in your stance, stay in triple threat, and stay low. Like, down when he's down here, he should be picking the ball up in this type of stance if he's going to pick it up, and then he has more options to pivot. He could pump fake him and throw a bounce pass around him. As this guy comes up, you have different options, but the fundamentals will save you in tough situations. And so that's probably going to be the theme of this one, is just understanding decision making and understanding, why fundamentals matter, and pointing out more detailed fundamentals of like how you need to have the ball and your footwork and things like that. So remember earlier when I showed you an example of like how to cross over under pressure, this is the perfect example of how to do that. And so notice it's a subtle detail, but things like this matter, when it comes to protecting the ball. Like this guy comes up and right here, like what I said with the lead foot, if you're going to cross towards your lead foot, everything on that side has to start going backwards, right? And so that's what he did right here. Now look where the ball is and his foot's moving at the same time. And so that's how you got to be, when you're dribbling under pressure and you're trying to protect the ball. And even though the pressure wasn't that much, it's just the habit of being able to do that, when it matters is the thing. And so he already has that habit ingrained of like, okay, if I'm going to cross to my lead side, which the lead side is whatever foot is in front, and, the pressure is there, it's enough to, make you think a little bit. Everything starts going back with the crossover, right? So the crossover happens and his foot automatically starts coming back, his shoulders coming back, the ball is back. That's how you want to do it, because then if he reaches up, now you still have a solid base, the ball is protected, and then you can do another move out of that, or you can accelerate this way towards the reaching arm or whatever it's going to be. And so this is the example of how it should be done. If you want to compare that to I think that was the first video or the first clip. And so here's another pick and roll situation, right? It's just the same thing of number one, he's not understanding that this guy is going to come up and play you. It's pretty obvious now, right? They're 4 minutes into the game. This should be a known thing. And you have to start picking up on what the defensive scheme is, as a player. So if you can tell, okay, they're trapping in certain spots, or they're helping in certain spots, or they're double teaming, after pick and rolls or whatever it is, you got to be aware enough to pick up on that and notice that's what they're doing. And then you have to know what the answer is for that, right? And so it's just pattern recognition. And so right here, he just exposed the ball, right? And these are the fundamentals I always talk about, right? He comes off the screen well, like shoulder to shoulder, this was fine. But in this part, you don't want to square your body towards pressure defense with the ball just sitting in the middle, right? That's a surefire way to get it stolen. And his base is off. It's just all bad right here, right? And so what he should do, right? And you can kind of, if you want to pause it and figure out what he should do and rewind it or whatever. But right here, it's like he should keep himself protected. For one, keep his dribble alive, because there's no picking the ball up right here. He has no options. There's no roller. He didn't roll. Like there's no one's open over here. He's looking down the middle. There's nothing going on. And so keeping your dribble alive and then keeping your base wide, like that's going to be, the best thing you can do. And so this body positioning right here, as he comes off, he should keep that. So his right foot should still be here and allowing his body to shield the ball. Like that's what he should be doing instead of squaring up, because then he just picks it up frivolously and the ball's exposed, and he's going to get that every time. All right, and so they stole it, and now fast break 2-on-1. So in this possession, there's two things that I really like about it. And the first thing was, how the person caught the ball that did the post entry, and then also what the post player did when they got the ball, right? And I think it's really important. And so it's like, again, when I always say fundamentals, like I'll just give you another one. So right here, if you watch how he catches the ball, right? He starts getting ready as it's going to him. And look at his stance. His hands are up. He jumps to it, and now he's ready. Like, and I don't like necessarily just holding the ball like this, but I think everything he did before that is like what you need to do on every catch. You should always catch the ball like this. Like, bam. Just in your attack position, I'm ready. My base is good. I'm in triple threat, whatever it is. Right, I think that's how you should always have the ball. I don't think you should stand up like this, because then it just eliminates your attack readiness, unless you're just baiting him and you're elite. Like elite players can kind of do this and get away with it because they know how to get around the defense in this stance. But for the average player, I think just being low is good. But now let's see on this post up, what he does that I like is he's patient. Like a lot of players, they go right when they touch the ball, and they start backing down and doing all the shit. But he catches it because he knows, okay, I'm not in a good position right here to dribble, simply because you got one guy here and you got one guy here. And so the thing that he does that's smart is he gets out of the way. So he's patient enough to say, okay, are y'all going to move? Like, what are y'all going to do? Get out of my way, right? So now that he's out of the way, now he can operate, and only has to see the help coming from one side. If you have to see the help coming from two different spots, then it's harder to attack. And so now that there's only going to be help from this side, and even though there's the backside, like, he's more aware and he's like, okay, I got room to operate. And then the double team comes from the top side, so he spins baseline. Like, that's just perfect execution. And so if you're in this situation in the post and you see, okay, there's help coming from the middle, you got to set your defender up so you can go baseline. It's not an automatic of like, okay, I'm going to go baseline, it's going to work. It's like, okay, I see the help coming. How can I get my guy, out of the way so I can spin baseline, right? And so he dribbles middle, and then he just pivots around him. Easy bucket. So with this one, and you're going to have to bear with me for this whole film study because for some reason I cannot talk today. But within this, press break, what are the things that they did that made it so easy for them to get out of it? Like, they just got out of it as if they weren't even getting pressed, right? I'll let you see it again so you can kind of make your own analysis, and then I'll break it down. And it's the rules that I always implement for my teams. Like, if you're getting pressed, the number one thing is, right, they did some screening action and they started up high. And I would argue, like, they got to actually use this, like, make this a threat. He didn't even give it a chance. And so that's the one thing I would point out is, like, you got to give the first thing a chance. It's like, is this going to be open or not? Instead of just like running away automatically, because he probably was going to be open. Like, he could have ran over here and then looked back. Like, there's a lot of space right here for him to throw this pass, right? But he didn't go towards the ball anyway. So I think he kind of didn't do it just because he was away. So, on this catch, like, the thing he did perfectly was he jumped to it. So this is, again, another fundamental, like, always jump to the ball on a jump stop. Bam, lands on two, and he doesn't panic. He just pivots and surveys. And so he keeps the ball away from the defense while turning and pivoting so he can see. And so he doesn't necessarily expose it. And now that he realizes, okay, they're not pressuring me super hard, I can fully square up and, see if I can make a pass. Made this pass over the top. Now when he got it, he immediately started attacking because if you look back again, I think he was looking before he started his dribble. Yeah, so right here, he could kind of sense, okay, I got a lot of space right here. Let me just go forward. Instead of passing it from there to here, he makes this guy engage on defense, and then he makes the pass. And so he forced him to stop the ball, and then he passed it ahead. And when he caught it, again, just fundamentals, catches it on two, and you can't really see the scores in a way. But he doesn't just get rid of the ball frivolously. He's like, okay, let me be patient and see what happens. And so, like, that's what I liked, when they were breaking that press. And I really should have just kept it rolling so you could see this right here. But the thing I like about that is, as he's going through traffic, I'll slow it down so you can see it a little better. He brings the ball up, and it's just like these minor instincts, I would say. Kind of messed it up. Hold on, let me go forward. Yeah, like, you got to understand, like, where to place the ball in certain scenarios. And so right here, it'll show it. I was waiting for the slow motion. Here he is right here going through. And once he makes his final attack dribble right there, he knows he's going to reach. You know what I'm saying? He knows they're going to try to block it. And so he's like, okay, I'm going to get the ball over this guy's arm, and I'm going to slow myself down, and I'm just going to float it over him. So he's beating two defenders at once. He's like, okay, I'm going to beat this reach, right? He brings the ball up high, and then on his last step, he floats it over the shot blocker's hands, and he doesn't jump into him. He jumps a little bit away to give himself some separation, so then he could just shoot it right off the glass. Like, and that kind of stuff comes from, playing a lot and watching a lot and just realizing, watching film and stuff like that. When you see things like this, just notice. It's like, okay, he went through, he brought the ball high, and then he kind of, jumped away from the big so we can get some space to shoot it. Like, realize these things that happen, and you won't necessarily, think it out step by step, but you'll just know based on situation of like, okay, I'm driving in and I'm a little bit too close to the big. You'll just know that you can do this as an option. And so it's less about thinking. It's more about observing the situation you're in and having the options ready in your mind, like to just know. There is no thinking. It's knowing. So he knew that's what he was supposed to do, or that's what he could do. And so notice, I think this was the first guard that got the ball ripped at the beginning, wasn't it? Now notice he changed, like he figured it out. He learned. He's like, okay, I got to protect the ball when I cross over towards my lead foot. Immediately brings it back. And so these things happen so often that you can't even tell that's what they're doing. But, for players that don't dribble the ball often, you're trying to figure out, okay, how do I get better under pressure? It's little stuff like this, I'm telling you. Because watch, he goes towards that lead foot, everything goes back because there's that same reach that got him on the very first play. And so now he's bringing everything back, and look at his foot position. Brings his foot back, keeps his dribble alive, and he's protected. And now if that guy were to come up closer, he can accelerate. So this would have been his acceleration, had that dude reached up a little bit earlier in the beginning. And so there it is. It's super simple, and it seems frivolous, but it's like you got to know these kind of things when you're dribbling. And so that's something you can practice, is like dribbling the spots and making sure like you're doing the right technique when you stop and go back, and just imagine that you're being pressured. Like that's what I would do, is just imagine I'm under pressure all the time, and then practice these different dribbles of like, okay, if they reach, this is how this is my dribble, right? And then I can accelerate from that stance into his arm. And this is something that Kyrie does really well, is once he does this, he automatically goes at that arm. And so he doesn't necessarily like set up here when he doesn't have to. These are scenarios where you can attack him off that. And so with this, he'll just push off that foot, because his footwork would be a little bit better. So from this stance, his foot should be, a little bit, or probably on the ground, and then he can push off this foot and go that way right at the arm immediately. So that's something you do as you grow and get better as a basketball player, and you'll see these things happening. You'll see the reach coming. The better you get and the more experience you get, and because like you can see him like on this lunge, right? Like that's gonna be from that position. That's gonna be a going forward position, for Kyrie or somebody like that. Like I'm going right at that arm, and he's probably gonna foul, right? I've seen that happen often. And so, but that starts with the fundamental of knowing to bring your foot back and bring the ball back and everything back on that initial crossover towards your lead foot, when someone reaches. And in that same scenario, you can tell that his balance isn't where it needs to be, right? Because he's like kind of stumbling a little bit. He's a little bit clunky. He runs into somebody and it gets a little bit physical. And so, the thing about dribbling under pressure and being a really good guard is, can you maintain your balance and your acceleration points and all these things, while things are moving fast, right? Because his foot slipped out. Now he runs into this guy, and then he's like, okay, I got to get rid of the ball, right? But can you, take that bump and not slip, and then realize this dude's coming up. Maybe you can back dribble a little bit to maintain your space, right? And that's what I would always say is like, you got to be good enough at reading to when you're going that you necessarily make this contact, right? And if you do make that contact, you should be able to get out of it immediately. So you got to maintain your distance, when people are pressuring you. And so right there, he could, if his footwork was good, he could have did the same technique the other way. Like he could have crossed over with his left foot, but he brought it too far out. And so he ended up in a spin where he didn't really want to spin. And so now he's going this way, same thing. It's like, can you maintain that base? Like, so notice how he's stopping. His foot is like super far out in front and he's not really on balance, right? And so it's just, those are the little things that matter over the course of games, that determine how elite you're going to be. Because when you can maintain that balance and attack position in all scenarios, it makes you just more of a threat, and you can get to the basket easier, create easier, but these things just go unnoticed if you're only watching NBA basketball, because they do it at such a high level that it just seems normal. So what is it about this play that you notice, specifically in the rebounding area, like in the paint? Like, what do you notice just in this entire sequence? I'll just let you watch it again. And so what I see a couple things. For one, let's start on this side, right? So what he does is he doesn't just, try to chase after the guy to box him out. He knows he's over there. So as soon as the shot goes up, he observes what he's doing and where he is. So he's like, okay, he's running this direction. I'm going to meet him there. Like, that's the most important thing about boxing out, is like, meet them there. You don't have to run out towards them. If they don't run in, then you just get in a good position to where you can get it, right? And so if you're good enough at reading where the ball's going to go, then you'll position yourself regardless. If he decides to run in, he's going to run in right by you because the ball's going to where it's going to go. And you should be good enough at positioning yourself to where you'll be where the ball's going. All right, so that's the first thing. And then just makes quick contact and gets him out of there, right? And he flops a little bit, like some soccer shit. But That's his good positioning of knowing where the ball is going and where he needs to be and what the defender's doing. And he meets him there, and he's in the perfect position for all of that, right? But I think he got knocked off balance a little bit because that would have been his rebound, right? But now let's look on the other side, right here, right? He starts off good. The number 7 starts off good for the dark team, and he should never assume, that his teammate's gonna get it, right? Like, you got to keep your box out at all cost, and if anything, you go get it, right? So he's boxing out a little bit, and he assumes his teammate has it, which it's fair to assume, but still, you want to hold that positioning anyway, right? And what he does is he doesn't stop fighting for it. So even though he gets boxed out a little bit, he maneuvers his way around him by pushing the defender's arms out of the way. So this is what I always say is, like, when you're getting boxed out, the arm that they're boxing you out with, you got to move it. So he moved it a little bit, even though he gave up. Like, they both, he did what he was supposed to do. It was just easier because he didn't, finish the play, right? But, he didn't assume that, okay, they're going to get the rebound. He's still fighting for it. And he assumed that his teammate was going to get it, so he didn't box out fully, right? And even on the rebound, on the catch right here, he should get yourself in position, like, to stop the ball. I don't know what he was doing, right? And so he got it. I didn't mean to go back that far. He got it here. And then you should just, if you're this person, get in front of him and just stop him. Like, just be the defender, right? Because he's out of position. So you got to get in position by not being so close initially. And then, it just pivots around him. I don't know what he was doing. It's clear that he got the rebound. And so, again, this is just another bad assumption of, I'm assuming my teammate's going to cover for me. So he just gets out of the picture instead of covering the guy that he was supposed to be boxing out in the first place, and then just gives up a layup. So that's on him for a lot of it. Even though the first box out guy kind of got knocked off balance, he should have got it. That's still on him. So here's just a quick fundamental. When you're throwing the ball in, this is what I always say. You got to fake a pass, make a pass. So he fakes it, gets his hands in the air, bounce passes it right under. Like 9 times out of 10, on a close range pass in, you want a bounce pass. Like, that's going to be your best bet 9 times out of 10, because those are hard to steal for the person guarding the inbound. So that's just something I wanted to note. I'm just throwing that in here. So you can't say no one told you. So bounce pass it to their outside hand, as they're running to it. Let the pass meet them right here, right? This is elementary stuff, but, everyone doesn't get taught. So throw it to the outside. He jumps to it, catches it protected, and it's all good, yeah. So here's a couple more example of good fundamentals, right? On the catch, he steps into it, attack ready. And then as he comes off this screen, this is good technique, when you're changing directions, especially when the person's closing out on you. So notice when he goes between right there, he could attack him on this, right? But notice his base is good. His footwork's perfect. He accelerates off his back foot. Like, if there was room right here, you could attack that, right? That happens all day long in the NBA. And so that's just another fundamental to point out. And then I'll show you when this guy catches it as well. So he steps into it, attack ready, comes off the screen right there. Good technique. Like, his footing is perfect. And then he makes this pass. Again, he knows where's the closeout coming from, that way. So he goes this way, which technically he could be shot ready for that. But if you're not a shooter, this is, some technique you can use. So he goes at it because he shouldn't close out like right at it. I don't think this is the zone. Now it looks like man. Yeah, you don't want to close out from that angle. You want to go to in front of them. So if they drive, you're there to meet them. And so he goes right in, causes help. But notice when he gets to the help, look at what he does. Jump stops. Gives him a fake. Pop-tart, wide in the air, bounce passes. So if you fake high and he jumps high, bounce pass right there. It's going to work every single time, right? And so this is just fundamental basketball and things you got to know, and then once you get really good at all these types of things, you can explore and be a little bit more creative with them. But fundamentals is the grounds for creativity. If you don't have good fundamentals, you're not going to be as creative as you should be. And so he goes right into it, clean jump stop, and he opens up into space. He noticed his man helps, And so he's like, okay, let me get away a little bit and give him some room. So now he has to decide, am I going to help against this guy or am I going to stay with my guy? So that's why he backs up to give himself room. So he jumps in the air, clean jump stop, perfect bounce pass right into some space. He catches it, doesn't waste time, gives him a pump fake, and that's just knowing that he might have got caught. He might have caught it a little bit late to go up straight away. And so this guy coming over, pump fakes him. Once he's on the way down, that's when he went up. That's just easy, fundamental basketball. And so in this press break, try to spot the mistake in this right here. Like, who's in fault and why did that turnover happen? Like, I'll let you see the whole thing again. So there it is. I set the screen up top. Okay, there's 1, 2. So I'll talk about it, right? So let's go back. First things first is, when that screen happens, ideally you want them to come off the screen going this way instead of going back. And so that was the first mistake, I believe. Right? So now that he comes up, he's not necessarily open. And, hold on, let me see if I got this right. Yeah, you got to hold the screen a little bit longer if they're not going to switch. Because then if you set a cleaner screen on him, he comes up a little bit more open, and now he only has him to deal with and he can go to either side and they can make that pass, right? But now they bring in the emergency guy and he's open, but the mistake here was he should bounce past it into space where he can meet it. So he just tries to throw it direct. And when you're throwing it direct on a press, 9 times out of 10, that shit is not going to work, especially if it's in denial. And so from this standpoint, he knows where his teammate's going. His teammate is going over here. And so you should just bounce it to where they're going to go. And he's just going to automatically run into it and be able to catch it. But instead, he threw a straight line pass, not taking for account that the defender's chasing him. And maybe the person getting the ball could have held him off a little bit longer or tried to get in front of him, which that's what I would recommend is, never let the defender around you in that type of situation. But for him, he has to know to throw the pass out there so then he can meet it. That's just the fundamental mistakes, and then it causes a turnover, and now they don't have possession. And here's another small fundamental to know, right? Like, this is something you should do all the time, right? And I'm going to do my best to, make these type of things a point because I think they just fly under the radar so much and they never get talked about. Because it's like I know them, but I don't know why I don't talk about them often unless I see it in person or, I just happen to, take a note of it. But notice when he goes into the lane and he knows there's help, look at his base. He goes in as if he's going to shoot a pull-up jumper, right? So I'll slow it down so you can kind of see his technique. So when he gets in the lane, he comes in low and it looks like he could do 1-2 into a shot, right? That's what it looks like he's going to do. And so even if you're not going to shoot it, you want to, get yourself in the habit of maintaining your base when you pick the ball up and going into situations as if you're going to do one thing to cause the defense to react because he jumped out of the gym, and he had to respect the fact that he might shoot this. And then he made the pass, even though the pass was a little bit high, he just made it a point to okay, when I get in the lane, I'm going to be fundamental. I'm not going to get this shot off, but I'm still going to, fake as if I am, have a solid base, draw the help in, be convincing. And when you're convincing in your action, that's when the help, reacts. And then you can make the proper pass like he did right here, and then even when he catches it, he goes immediately into triple threat. He gave it a look, he squared up, gave it a look. But now look at his triple threat, right? The ball is low. His shoulders are down. Like I always say, you make this little L position. And that made the defender backed up simply because he did that. Watch again. Watch what the defender does just because this guy in the corner gets himself in proper position. So he catches it and then just, I didn't even realize. Okay, yeah. Look at that. Defender backs up a little bit because he could drive based on his positioning. And so getting yourself in the right position is vital, right? And then he takes a drive right here, which defensively, I'll point this out as well. As a defender, you don't want to be this open. This is not how you want to be because if he takes you this way, this is a big step. So you still want to square off a little bit and don't just give him a free lane. This is pretty much giving anybody a free lane. Anybody that's good at basketball can attack that and beat you every time. And so you got to be brave enough to bring that foot up and, work on your defense so then you don't have to just give him a lane. because I think people do this when they're scared of changing directions and having to react. And so the better you get at defense, you can square a little bit more and close that gate. And so he's not able to just get this straight line drive, because look, now you're just sliding with them. And instead, if you had your footing in the right position, you could slide and cut him off instead. So that's ideally what you want to do. You want to cut him off. You don't want to slide with. You want to cut off right there. But it starts with positioning on both sides of the ball, as you can see. And then even on the catch, I might as well just the whole thing, right? Catch in the corner. As you can see, here he goes. He's shot ready. So he catches it low. His base is low. His foot is planted before the catch. So then it's just one step, and he's right into it. He doesn't waste no motion. He's just easy square up. And so all that stuff is important. So in this possession, this is my problem with a lot of offenses. Like, they're always doing this sideways shit. I'm not a big fan of it. I'd never see it work. It hurts you more than it helps you, because you're not going forward downhill, right? But what I want to point out is this guy, right? Perfect way to be set up for a shot, right? And so this is how you need to be off the ball at all times. Like, there should never be a situation to where you're just standing around looking as if you don't want the ball, right? The more ready you are, and especially you got to have your hands up, like, the more likely you are to actually get it. And so he's fully ready, whether he's going to get it or not. Like, the guy with the ball is not even looking at him. But look, you can start to see him. Here he is. As soon as the ball gets there, he's automatically getting himself ready. And so he hasn't even looked at him yet, but no matter what, he's going to be there. Catches it, just lets it rip. And so you got to be 100% ready beforehand, before anybody throws you the ball. So then when you catch it, and he hops. He's a hop shooter. So if you watch his feet, quick hop, immediately up into his jump shot. His defender didn't even have time to react. That's way too late. So here's another, example of just minor details, fundamentals that matter. First thing is, when they're running that play, they're patient, right? So this first screen happens. I didn't mean to rewind that far. First screen happens, and dude falls down, right? And they know this second person's supposed to come off, but he waits, for his teammate to get out of the way. So that's the first thing. Is like, he's just observing. He's like, okay, I got to wait for him. Then he pops out. So timing, right? Then on the catch, look how he catches it. On two, bam. On two, ball's protected. And then when he makes this pass, he passes it out here. He doesn't just throw it in frivolously, right? And even though the bounce pass was a little bit wide, what's the post player do? Jump to it. Bam. Lands on two. And so just small stuff like that is super important. And it doesn't seem like it, but I'm telling you, watch the NBA and look at how much they actually do these things. And it's just taken for granted because all of them do it. That's why they're in the NBA. But jumping to the pass, like landing on two clean, being patient, timing of passes, ball placement, like all those things matter. And then even when he catches it, he's patient. He doesn't just rush. He settles himself, squares up, gets his footing right, and then goes into an attack. And so, like, things like that, they just matter. So I really like this possession, even though they didn't get a point out of it. I think just the things that, and like, look how crazy the difference is between a game like this and a game like Mount Verde that I did on the last film study, the high school one. Two totally different worlds of the same age group, right? Like, they're playing two different basketball games. It's actually crazy to look at, right? And so first thing I notice is the post guy. And I think, the post guy is going to be my main focus for this. So he's running down court, and what's he notice? His defender's catching up with him. And so, again, positioning is like, 75% of the game. Like, where are you positioned versus your defender, ball positioning, foot positioning. Like, positioning matters, right? And so he doesn't let his defender get ahead of him. Like, look at his arm, right? I'll slow it down. He stops him. He's like, nah, I'm not letting you get around me because I need this positioning. Right, so that's how it starts off. And now he knows he has good positioning. He's asking for the ball. Catches it, lands on two. Look at that. Bam. Perfect. Has the ball ready, or down in triple threat, and he's ready to attack. And then he's patient as well, so he doesn't just go right away, right, because there's a cutter. So he sends the cutter. And the thing about the cutter is he doesn't get too close to the big. And so when you cut off the post, you got to maintain a little bit of space. So if they pass it, there's actually enough room for the ball to get through, and it doesn't just get deflected. And so he waits for him to go through, As soon as that happens, he starts his attack, and he's patient. So does his move right there, shoots it over the top. Even though he missed it, I think it was a good starting point. So for bigs, like when you're running down the court, don't let anybody get positioning on you. Like it starts at half court, so if you see they're trying to get around you so they can deny early, it's like, nah, I'm going to hold my position in the whole way so then I can catch it, where I want to catch it. So there he is. It's just little things like that. They add up over the course of the game. And so the more you can get yourself in good position, and do things fundamentally, the better off the results you'll get. So when you're a guard dealing with pressure, a couple things you got to know is, for one, it's all right to use your off arm other than just like swiping. I think that's the most popular thing I see. There's infinity videos of how to do an arm swipe. It's like, okay, we get it. Let's show us something else, right? And so he uses his off arm, and it starts with his feet though. So he uses his feet, and I always say step between the defender's feet when they're pressuring you, because then everything else aligns with their chest, and then you can push them back a little bit easier, right? But notice on the initial dribble, I almost forgot to bring this up, is he keeps the ball behind him. So the ball is back here. So then if he does come up, he's able to accelerate because he could push off that left foot if he wanted to. So I'll show you. He does it right here. So same position, brings the ball back, and as soon as the defender scoots up, that's when he accelerates. And so to keep the defender honest, you got to at least be attack ready till as soon as they scoot up. That's usually when you want to start to attack. So he backs him up, gives him some space. Then he starts approaching again. Once he starts approaching again, that's your time to go at them. Because then the more you do that, the more they have to back up. So now he backs up because he thought he was going to get attacked. And now that opens up a lot of room. So that's how you keep the defenders honest, when you're trying to handle pressure and let the plays play out. And that's what he's doing. He's not doing this for no reason. He's trying to execute. So he's like, okay, can I get the ball here? No. Okay, let me get my defender off me. Here comes the next action. Now he's looking this way. Defender starts scooting up again. So now he's in positioning. Ball is out here. Foot positioning is as good as it can get. He starts to get lower. So he lowers his positioning, right? And then from here, he keeps his arm out to then run his defender into that screen. So the screen's happening. He keeps his arm out to protect himself and then just runs him right into it. And so this is how you can stay calm under pressure while trying to execute all the options that your offense is going through. Use your off arm, and then when the time presents itself, maybe you can get a shot off. But look how easy that was for him to get that shot off. Like, he didn't waste a whole bunch of energy. He wasn't doing all these crazy crossovers. He just went to a spot. He maintained for a little bit, kept the defender honest, with a fake attack. Okay, play's not working out. Let me get my screen now. Everybody went under, wide open, shoot it. Like simple basketball. So for this one, I want you to pay attention to the trailer. Look at him the whole time. Right? He's super calm. And when he's trailing, he's observing the space of where he's going to have to go. Because when you're the last person down floor, you got to fill in the gap, right? And so he notices, okay, his teammate's using this screen. So he tries to stay out of the way. He even points at his teammate, tells him scoot over. So he scoots down because action's going his way. So when I always say action's going towards you, you got to scoot down. Make your guy decide, is he going to cut that off or is he going to stay with you, right? So then he goes opposite of where the point guard goes. And I think that's kind of a rule of thumb if you're a trailer, is if the point guard is on one side, you want to trail opposite. And so if they cross over, then again, you want to trail opposite. Or you can fill if there's nobody else in this gap. It kind of depends, but that's just like a small rule of thumb. Right, because think he just turned around automatically and he knew there was going to be someone up there because that's probably what they practice. But look, his hands are up early. Like, that's another point of emphasis, is like, okay, they kind of know, they know what the rules of offensive engagement are, right? He knows what the rules are. And so the rule is like, okay, if you're behind your teammate, you need to be shot ready, because he can tell once your teammate comes to a jump stop, what is he going to do? 9 times out of 10, he's going to pivot and look somewhere. So he knows that. He's like, okay, my teammate's getting cut off. He's about to try to pass it. Let me get ready. So his hands go up. And so as soon as he looks, it's just automatic right there. He's super shot ready. And on the catch, gets right into his shot. This is what I mean by squaring up. No matter what, he just catches it, squares up, gets the defender out of there. Damn, I really cannot talk today. I'm sorry for everybody listening to this. It's awful for me today, but I'm gonna get through it because I want to get this video out. But he squares up and he goes against momentum. So momentum's coming from his left. So on the pump fake, he attacks left, and so that's just got him up out of there. Again, regains his balance. Look at the balance on his shot, right? He's in his shot pocket. His eyes are up. His feet are solid. Goes right into it. And so all those little details matter, right? And even on the, a lot of people get caught in a travel on this. So notice he catches it on 2. His left foot stays down. He moves his right foot on the dribble, right? So if I slow it down, his left foot stays down, 1 step, hop. Like, that's the footwork you want to practice when you're doing these types of things. And so he just makes it look super easy. And so let's look at the footwork again. It shows it in slow motion. So here it is. He catches it on a hop, lands on 2, foot stays down, 1 step, bam, hop, right into a shot. That's just perfect fundamental shooting footwork. And so when you're doing, the reason I point these things out, when you practice shooting, you need to practice the footwork. You have to make it a point in your mind to be perfect on every single thing that you do. So even if you got to flip the ball to yourself, like jump into it, land clean, make sure you don't travel or drag your foot. So this is what he doesn't do. He doesn't drag that foot. A lot of people drag that foot when they do this. That's how they get called for travels. So that foot stays down and he just moves it perfectly, hops into a shot. And so these are the type of things that you need to be practicing. You got to study the footwork of all the best shooters and then practice those over and over. So then when the time presents itself, it's like, okay, I can do this. I won't travel. I'll be on balance. Those are the type of things that matter. Look, same idea right here. You see on that catch, and that number 7 is kind of undisciplined. That's what I've noticed through this entire game. Yeah, he's undisciplined. He needs some work, but I think he's super athletic and he has some talent. So, it takes you a little bit. It takes you a little bit to figure it out. You just got to be taught. But right here, look at this guy. Shot ready, right? Hands are up, feet are ready. How he catches it. Catches it on a hop and squares up immediately. And on the pump fake, notice he does not travel. Pump fake up, takes a negative step. And just because you take a negative step does not mean it's a travel. You just got to keep that left foot planted perfectly. And so don't worry about covering as much distance and going as fast as you possibly can. Be perfect first. And then when you speed it up, it'll naturally be perfect. But you got to practice the perfection of it first. And so he goes right under, 1 dribble, right there. So I really hope you got a lot out of that video. I think the main thing I want to stress is when you are practicing by yourself, or, you go to group workouts, or if you have a trainer, or just team practice in general, everything you do, you have to implement habits. So even if it's a walkthrough, catch it how you're supposed to catch it. Like for me, what I started to do over time was just, it didn't matter what we were doing. If we were just walking through our plays, I was doing it, game like. I might not have been going full speed, but I'm still going to catch it how I need to catch it. I'm going to pivot how I need to pivot. I'm going to have, my body positioned the way it needs to be positioned. And so I think that's very important as you go through things on a daily basis, is of just try to be perfect. Like, figure out what's perfect. Okay, every time I catch the ball, I got to catch it on 2. I got to get in triple threat. I got to square up. Do that in everything. You know what I'm saying? Like when you shoot it, or when you're working on your shooting, make sure your footwork is perfect. Okay, I'm jumping how I need to jump. I'm holding my follow through. I'm catching it the right way. My hands are ready. Even though I'm doing self passes, like as soon as I let the ball go for a self pass and it's bouncing back, I'm getting my hands ready. Just like things like that. It really goes a long way, because then you start to do it naturally, and it makes your game better without you even realizing it. So, I really wanted to dig deep into that. And as far as everything else goes, I'm gonna try to keep cranking out videos. Like I said in the beginning, always check forums just in case. I try to announce things in there as far as what I'm doing. And, I really want to get a lot more people in here and start to do those live, whether it's like Zoom meetings or something. I don't know. I'm gonna figure it out, but I'll see you on the next one. Appreciate you.